Hello and welcome to Dare2Own podcast, a Pan-African podcast committed to empowering working class and entrepreneurial Africans in Africa and in the diaspora. We are committed to bringing you wealth creation opportunities globally through education and coaching. The content pillars for this podcast include business ownership, real estate investing, and financial freedom. My name is Stella Uwetre. I'll be your host, and our coach will be Oladipupo Clement. Enjoy the conversation. Okay, now that I have learned some of the limiting beliefs and I have overcome them, now that I have identified, habits that I need to imbibe. Okay, so now what are the practical things that I need to do? I need to put action to this knowledge that I've heard. What are the things that I need to be consistent with going forward? So I think I would like us to start with that part about
Okay.
doing. So now we're going into doing. Haven't emphasized all of the background work, the preparation in the rooting season, and now we're beginning to, come up above the soil a bit, moving towards light. What are some of the strategies, practical strategies that we can begin to take, that we can start with, irrespective of our career, what we've studied? Because some people will say, "Oh, that doesn't apply to me. I'm a banker. Me, I'm a clergy. Me, I'm a social worker." So, what are some of these practical strategies that you think we can start with?
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. So I'll touch on a few. Uh, um, the structure of our Financial Freedom Challenge is it's a 5 day program. And when I say 5 day, is 5 day revolution. So the first day will focus on personal transformation, which is pretty much what we've been discussing so far, and a lot more. Okay. We'll be dealing with limiting thought pattern, limiting belief systems, and all of that. And of course, the mindset that will really enrich you, and then the habits that you need to form to move you to the next level. The day two will focus more on personal preparation. And that's where I want to quickly get into right now, which is around the need to have a budget. You see, you've heard of, for those of you who live in Africa, you've heard of money misroad, right? So those are the kinds of people who money they accidentally made some money, and because there was no prior planning, no agenda for the money, other people set agenda for the money you never set agenda for, and it always ends in regrets. Okay, when you don't have an agenda for the money you are looking to make. Now, uh, once you become a superior version of yourself, once you keep working on yourself, one thing that will begin to happen is that you begin to magnetize opportunities. You begin to attract opportunities. So you need to start preparing yourself. One of the areas where you need to prepare yourself is through budgeting. You need to start keeping records of the flow. In fact, that's one of the ways you will even know that something is changing. Do you know that if you start speaking abundance and thinking abundance, the evidence will be in your bank statements. So compare your bank statements month on month, year on year. You will start noticing a shift. I know this. I know what I'm talking to you about. It is because I'm telling you what I'm doing. You will start noticing a shift. Once there's a shift in your mindset and a shift in your speech, it will also reflect in your statement, your bank statement. Your bank statement is your report card for the talk and the thoughts in your mind. That is one part. So you need to have a budget. You need to have a budget, otherwise the money will flow through you and it will go the same way it came. Money is called currency because it is current. It is never designed to be static, but it's designed to flow. And it always flows from the hands of fools to the hands of the wise. So you need to have a prepared plan. A lot of people confuse budget for a list of expenses. A budget is way more than that. A budget is a money making plan. In simple terms, a budget is a money making plan and a money spending plan. A money making plan. So, what are going to be the sources of the income and what will be taking the money? So, we will look at that, we'll dissect that in greater depth during the Financial Freedom Challenge. The second thing that you really, really want to pay attention to is records. One of the things that will help facilitate the quality of budget you draft also is your records. So you have an idea, you have a sense of exactly where your money has been going into. So that's one of the reasons why I always recommend that you make sure that even if you don't have a notebook, which I recommend you do, right? But even if you don't, make sure that all your expenses and your income goes to an account. So, and then reconcile your bank account every month. So you have a sense of how much came in, you have a sense of how much is going. That way it's easy for you to keep a track on what is bringing a lot of money to you so that you can continue to do those things and continue to invest in those things. And whatever is taking too much money from you and it's not adding value to your life, you know that it's time to cut them off, right? So that's very, very important. It's part of the personal preparation. The next important thing is income generation, which is what we usually capture on day 3. The income generation is so important. Yes. So essentially, you cannot manage money you have not yet made. Neither can you multiply money you have not yet made. So one of the biggest challenge a lot of people have is not being able to make money, right? And it's a big challenge. And that's where you start seeing people blame the economy, village people, and all of those things, right? And this is what I often share. You see, the highest level of income you have ever made is also a reflection of the highest level of skill you have acquired. So if you want to change your income or you want to increase your income, increase your level of skill, right? And there are layers of skill too. There are layers to skill. You know, for example, if you're an entrepreneur, there's technical skill, there's also business skill. Technical skill is knowing how to do the job and you really do it well. And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? And there are people who have been able to develop themselves so well and they are so good on a global scale. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a limit to how much you can get done doing the work all by yourself. That's where the business skills comes in. Business skills, even if it does not process, if you possess business skill and don't possess technical skill, you can assemble the technical skills to get more done, serve more people, serve more audience, right? So from a working class professional standpoint, right, you are you are making you'll be making a lot of money if you develop scarce skills, soft skills, okay, that are in demand, and you want to pay serious attention to those type of skills. So, but there's a cap to how much money you can make at that level, okay. But when you move to business skills, that is when you can scale, okay. You are not going to be scaling, or you are never going to be able to scale if you remain with just technical skill, okay. So when it comes to income generation, one of those skills, I can go on and on, but let me just give you the assignment. Go online, type in demand skills, type scarce skills. In fact, if you give ChatGPT, say, what are the top 5 in demand skills? If you have any of them, maybe you are not marketing it, maybe you are not selling it, maybe you are not positioning as that person. All right. What are the soft skills? Top soft skills. You'll be amazed. Those are skills that you should develop. That is what helps you to solve critical problems for people. All right. You see, money is what we get in exchange for solving problems for people. So the more money you solve for people, the more money flows to you. The less money flows to you, it's a reflection of you are solving fewer problems or no problem at all. So the more money you want to make, the more problem you need to solve for people. So it means you need to be more aware. Now, some people even have the right skills, right, that can solve critical problems for people, but they are not aware of the problem that people are even dealing with. They think nobody has need for them. Okay. I think it was last week we had this conversation, and was it last week or the week before? I can't remember now, but I remembered sharing on a platform where I talked about the three major markets where there's always demand. All right. I mentioned the wealth market, I mentioned the health market, I mentioned the relationship market. Those three markets, just find the right skill and plug it into any of these markets. You will be flowing in money. And in this digital age where you can leverage your skill to create, as I'm doing right now, for example, okay, for those who may be thinking these things, it's not far-fetched. It's not far-fetched at all. What I'm sharing with you right now is my own skill that I'm putting on digital platform, right? Someone somewhere will find this information useful, grow from there, make money from there, but will remember that, man, someone said something. I've written a book. In fact, I've written 13 books, and this year I'm releasing two more books aside this, okay? Aside the other ones I've written, right? I'm releasing two of those 13 books. It's going to be life changing, I'm telling you. But it's part of the ways I'm putting out my skill to use. I'm monetizing my skills. So some people have skills, but are not monetizing. That's another challenge that we'll be resolving during the program. Some people there's a cap to their income, even though their expenses is on autopilot and their expenses forever rising. But there's already a cap on their income. So we'll also look at how do you scale your income? How do you put your income on autopilot as well? Those are things that we'll be dealing with extensively during the challenge. It's going to be, my goodness, it's going to be nothing short of transformational. And then, of course, let's go on. I think I've said enough. Let me not talk too much.
I like everything that you have mentioned, about the income generation, the need for us to have a budget, the need for us to keep records. And I like how you tied it back to still personal transformation, which is still saying you cannot do if you have not become. So it's from the place of thinking and speaking abundance that you now begin to track. Okay, these things I'm speaking, these things that I'm thinking, how is it reflected? I like how you also mentioned that our bank statements or our bank balances are report cards. So everything that you're saying, is it translating? And the way you would know is because you're already keeping records. And I like the new definition. I've heard it before, but there are times where you need to hear something over and over again. I like the fact that now I understand that budgeting is not just a planning tool. The way they teach us, oh, is a planning tool. It helps you to track your expenses. It is a money making tool as it is a money spending tool. That way, you know, okay, what is coming in, what is going out, where are the leakages, what are the things I need to block. I like that part. And when you see where all the monies are going to, if you're in a deficit or if you have excess, then you know, oh, I need to increase my income generation or I need to reduce my expense and all of that. But I also want to ask that you speak to a particular practical strategy that I know that everybody is something that everybody practices. Every time there's a new year or there's a new season, everybody has a new year's resolution, everybody has a goal, new year, new me, and they get to February, all things are passed away. They don't even remember what they said at the beginning of the year. So I'd like you to speak to goal setting. And I like that you have your unique concept about goal setting beyond what we know, beyond the SMART principles that everybody, the acronym. In fact, some people can recite it, but they're still not achieving or they're still not scoring goals. They're just setting it, but they're not scoring the goals. So, sir, could you really expound on the concept of goal setting from your
Right.
from your creation? Yes, from your trademark, from your copyright. I don't want to mention the term. I'll leave it to you to mention it.
All right. So I mean, you speak because you know you've read the book, you've attended the program as well, and so the financial freedom master guide in the book I talked about goal setting, but a new concept of goal setting, which I call seductive goal setting. So essentially, a seductive goal is a is an alluring goal. Is a goal that woos you. Is a goal that once achieved drives and fulfills all other goals. In other words, a seductive goal is usually they are fewer in number, even for a whole year, for a whole season. That's why most successful people really don't set goals in that sense. They set objectives, and that objective is what drives them. Now, one of the ways to determine what is a seductive goal, is to ask yourself two important questions. One is, what can go wrong? Number two is, what will go right? When you achieve this goal, what will go right? If you don't achieve it, what will go wrong? It has a way it propels you. It generates the impetus. You see, a lot of people don't have, what they call butterfly in your belly. A lot of people don't have that. You write down goals, there's no movement in your soul. There's no movement in your soul. When you write down your goals and nothing is moving, that goal is not likely to come to pass. And let me say this: any goal that you set that has no consequence whatsoever, that goal will never come to pass. You see, as human beings, we are motivated either by pain or by pleasure. We are either running away from something or running towards something. So, if you are, so the things that can go wrong is the pain, is the punishment, is the penalty. The things that will go right, those are the rewards, those are the incentives, those are the things that will bring you pleasure. So you need to define that and then use that to determine what your goal. So in a way, seductive goals are essentially objectives, as it were, because you know that once this is taken care of, every other thing that you list out. I mean, I've told the story many times. In the past, and this was the lessons I learned from many of our mentors, from reading books, and which many of you probably even already know, which is the smart way of setting goals. And I use that same concept to set goal year in, year out. But I still did not accomplish many of my goals those past years. And it was as though I was just on one spot. Nothing was moving. And while there's nothing wrong with that concept of smart way of setting goals, what I found out to be missing in the equation was the consequence for achieving or not achieving. That was what was missing. And that was how, for me, it came so strongly when I realized that, okay, once this was achieved, again, those days I used to list out like 34, I could have 34 different goal items for a whole year. So that by the time I'm almost at the end of the first quarter, I'm confused. I don't even know which one I'm pursuing again. So I realized that somewhere along the line that I now have fewer goals. And then when I achieve those goals, everything else that could have made it up to 34, even if it was 60 goal items were easily taken care of. Okay? So you can personalize this, you can institutionalize this, right? You can personalize this and you can institutionalize this. And that's pretty much my concept, and that's the way I approach goal setting this time and age. And that's exactly what I recommend for anyone who wants to also create wealth, right? So start setting seductive goals, right? And then ideas, a lot of ideas will fall. You see, most people may not know this about us. Majority of us that you see out there, we have things that are chasing after us, and we have things that we're also chasing after. So there's nothing like, oh, I forgot. Excuses may be easy for somebody who doesn't have consequence. It's not easy for people like us, right? And so we are always on top of matters, issues, again and again. There's no time to waste, no time to play. Okay? So that's pretty much the way this thing works. I rest my case.
I like how you mentioned that excuses, sound nice for people who don't have consequences, is because you have options, alternative things that you can fall back to. But when you know that there are real consequences, ways possibilities will begin to emerge because
Absolutely.
it has to work. It really does
Absolutely.
have to work. And I like the seductive goal setting part, because truth be told, like you said, a lot of us when we're starting the beginning of the year, we have so many things that we write. In
Mm,
fact, like you said again, once you get to like Q1 and you're doing evaluation, for those who do evaluation, those who track, you see that you don't even know which one. You're just confused. A lot of things are pulling you. But when you have a
mm,
one line
mm.
item that you know that is going to be like a ripple effect, once you achieve it, it just settles every other thing.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
becomes better. And you always use this analogy of um, a graduate who just left school. What is your
Mhm.
most important goal? Is it to get married or to get a job so that you can get a house? Because once you have a job and you're earning well, then it's easier for you to settle those other things. So
Yeah.
I really like that concept. And just to remind everyone listening to us, one of the things that he said, for maybe you did not hear, let me remind you again, is these things are not just things that you can practice alone as a person. You can also institutionalize it. So the good thing is OC is not just he's not a theoretician, he's a practitioner. Like he's telling you the things that he has lived. Because when you become and you begin to create things, it's the same habits that have, that has made you successful that you would also carry into what you do. I like how you say it, how you do anything is how you do everything. So if in your
Mhm.
life you are doing seductive goal setting, you do it for your business. If for your
Mm,
life you are doing record keeping, you do it for your business. And that's what separates businesses that are small from businesses that are big.
mm,
So for those people who are, business people or maybe career people, I'd like you to maybe share an example of a time where you practice seductive goal setting as an organization, or maybe as a family, because we have different people listening to us all over the world, and they might just be wondering, okay, this is just personal. How can I apply this to maybe my personal family, or how can I apply this to my small business?
all right. So let me tailor it not just to family, or a corporation, or a person. Let me tailor it to, so whether you're a family, a person, a corporation, you can you can use this to achieve your financial target. So let me give you a simple 4-step process, which I often teach also. Number one, to achieve your financial target, to make your financial target really, really a seductive one, right? List out all the things that can go wrong if you don't fulfill them. So list out in monetary terms, list them out in a piece of paper. All right, list them out. Right. So I call them obligations. They are going nowhere. They are staring you in the face. There are you. So if you don't fulfill them, so for example, if you are still a tenant, for example, you pay rent. If you don't fulfill your obligation, your rent, you don't pay your rent, you'll be given quick notice. And then if you don't pay your children's school fees, your children will be sent away from school, right? Except you go to a free school, or maybe your children have scholarship. Except that, right? Or maybe somebody else is sponsoring the school and the education of your children. Now, but if you are the one paying your children's school fees and you don't pay your children's school fees, they will send them home. And you know what that does, not just to you, but even to the children, to the esteem, the self-esteem of the children, right? Most of us are battling with inferiority complex today, largely because of the way and manner life has treated us, others have treated us, environment have treated us. So imagine, just think about the long-term effect of that. If you have an aged parent who has health condition, or aged grandparents who have health condition that are supposed to be on medical care, should anything happen to them, you may lose them untimely. So meaning that that is also an obligation. So if you don't want to lose them untimely, it means you need to buy the medications from time to time. They need to go for their checkup from time to time, and that comes at a cost, right? When you list out all your obligations, that speaks to the pain, things that can go wrong. Okay. And then if you go to the next one, what are the things that will go right if you achieve this financial target? Okay. Now you have not set any financial target. You are still trying to determine what your financial target will be. I'm just trying to make it a lot more practical, right, for people to understand exactly what we're talking about. When you list out all the things that will go right. So, for example, if you are, so I've used this one as a person now. Let me use this one as a, let me use the aspiration side of things as a business. So, if in a year I tell all my team members, guys, we're going to double your salary this year, if we meet these numbers, if we meet these numbers, you will get, all of the managers will get official cars, or they will get car loans, or what they will get this, or we will give them this. Those are the things that will go right. You list that out in monetary terms. You add it all up. It gives you a sense of, that's how we set financial targets in our organizations. Guess what? Under your obligations, part of the things you must also factor is your debts. So if you have debts to offset, especially interest-bearing debts, you want to quickly offset them. You want to evaluate all of those things. Those are the things that will propel you. So when you are setting goal, it's not a goal that is just for the paper. It's a goal to be action. It's a goal to be executed ruthlessly, such that anything that stands on your way, you are ready to remove it. So when sometimes people say, "Oh, I was reading a book, Living the Tarmac by Ike Imokwede, a while back, and the guy talked about how that after they had acquired Access Bank, there was a consolidation that needed to take place in the banking sector. This was 2004, 2005, and it was a massive one. And they had 18 months to raise 25 billion, and they were to a very, very large extent a very small bank, and they needed to raise 25 billion. He said within that period, everything that could move needle, they took it. But one strange thing happened. He fell ill. He was bleeding without explanation. They had to fly him out, for medical care. Thank God he had a partner who is now late, Abat Wigwe. But Abat Wigwe took the reign of things because they knew what was at stake. If they were not able to raise that money, either through merger or acquisition, they will be out of the game. And there were not many banks made it through that season. There were banks that became history as a result of that event. So when you find out that something is at stake, it has a way it compels you. Aliko Dangote told the story of how that when they were developing, building the Dangote refinery, he said if he knew that this was what it was going to take from them, they would never have started it. He said all the gray hair on his head came alive during that period because they had, so it was a project they started 13 years ago or so. And within the first 3 to 5 years, they were still fighting battles of they needed land. The Ogun State government that was in power at the time were not responding, were not supporting them. So they had to switch to Lagos, and all of that came, a lot of things that took place within that season. It was a lot of stress for them, and then interest was accumulating. They had borrowed money, interest was accumulating, and then the project is not taking off. How do you explain that? It's like you are owing people money. You did not use the money to feed. You use the money for different assets, but you cannot convert the asset yet to cash to pay the people, and then everybody looks at you as though you are stupid. You now see that your approach to life will be entirely different from somebody else who have everything going for them. That is why it has been said that if you strong, so people who come up out of deprived circumstances, who were deprived growing up, usually grow up to become strong, and then after a while they also now begin to raise irresponsible children because they are privileged children who end up creating another circumstance. So it's a cycle. So if you were doing well before, you're most likely going to raise people who are not going to do well, who will be privileged and be entitled. And then you raise another cycle of people who will be, it will take a whole lot, So what the fundamental here is that you must take away is that whether as a person or as a business, it's important that you look at what are the things that will go wrong, list them out. Those are your obligations. What are the things that will go right? Those are your aspirations in monetary terms. List them out in monetary terms. Add it all up. That will give you a sense of what your financial target will be. So when you write down your financial target, if it is not tied to either obligation or aspirations, forget about it coming to fruition. Even if you don't achieve it, you are becoming a superior version of yourself in that process. Thank you.
This is I've heard this before, but I'm hearing it differently. Maybe because we're growing every day and then we're experiencing different, like our significant emotional experiences change every day. I just realized that I usually set financial goals or targets, but I've never really tied them to any obligation or any aspiration. They just feel good, like the figure just feels good. I just say this amount, but not necessarily. But now that I understand this, I can see that there are times where I've even like shortchanged myself, and there are times where I've gone over and beyond, like over. Which I think that one is better than shortchanging myself. But this is very. This makes it more impactful. This makes it more. It gives me more energy, more drive. Like the propelling force is real. Like I must just do this. I have to do this. It can't be lower than this. It's either this or all the way up. So I'm really grateful that you shared that analogy. Is now it's becoming real. It's becoming life. And I'm sure that everyone who is also listening, please put it in the comment section, like your aha moment. Don't just listen and don't like or don't subscribe, or these are gems that you know how much you're going to pay to get this valuable information. If it was a one-on-one coaching session, you know what you'd have to pay to listen to all of this. So please don't just listen, take action, take action. Another practical strategy that I would like us to speak to, which a lot of people don't practice, and I still don't understand why they don't practice it, because I feel like it's the barest minimum that you should be doing. Savings. How can you not be saving? Like, I don't understand. I cannot understand it. Like, I don't know if it's a curse, if it's a demon, because I feel like it's more than just ignorance. It's like deep seated or deep rooted. I'm looking for the word. I don't know. Is a problem. So I think I'll just leave it to you, sir, to really speak to savings. Maybe some people would see differently. Some people will be liberated. Some people will be delivered once they hear about savings and why they need to start saving today if they've not started before now.
All right. Thank you very much, Stella. Interestingly, um, if you have not started making money, savings will not never be in your consciousness. And even if anybody is saying anything, you just discard it, and it becomes part of your culture. So much so that when you start to make money, you completely forget your frame of mind, your frame of thinking has been set to not save. Do you get the point I'm making? So because you were not making money at the point in time, right? You were programmed to say you can't afford to save because you are not making money. Such that by the time you start making money, that software is still what is running your life. And then rather than you switch from you can't afford to save to you can't afford not to save. Do you get the point I'm making? So that's why we all need mentorship. We need coaches, people that would juggle us to reality and tell us this is what is going on. Now, for those who are already making money, okay, the way you treat all your major and important expenses, that's exactly the same way you treat your savings. Because your payee, for example, is deducted from source. Your pension is deducted from source. You don't question it, you don't query it, you don't fight it. Taxes, so everything is being deducted from source, right? And it's not negotiable. That's the same way you treat your savings, as a non-negotiable. You know what I found out? In my book, I also talked about uh, liquidity. The more cash you have, the more cash you attract. Money is a magnet for opportunities. Money is a magnet for opportunities. The more money you have, the more money you are likely to attract, the more opportunities you are likely to attract. One beautiful thing about savings is that it helps you to address emergencies, and it also helps you to access opportunities. So emergencies are crisis situations that may otherwise throw you off balance. Okay? Whereas opportunities are ladders that will accelerate your prosperity, or you are attaining to wealth on time. Do you understand? There are properties that even as an organization we have acquired very cheap because we had the cash or access to cash to acquire those properties. I don't know if you get the point I'm making now. So, and as individuals, I've counseled with quite a lot of people, coached quite a lot of people. I remember a gentleman is now based in the US. I remember he was in a session with me when I told him, I said, no, he said the property is worth 50 million. And the person that owns the property wants to sell it for 15 million. I said, how much cash do you have right now? And the person said, all he has right now is 2 million. I said, go and deposit it. You have locked it down. And then in a matter of weeks, he was able to raise the remaining balance and got a property that's 50 million for about 15 million. And that's how people continue to miss opportunities, largely because they don't have cash reserve. So if you don't have cash reserve and you don't have cash flow reserve or cash flow streams, then you are running a risk. You need a combination of both. You can use your cash reserve to create cash flow streams. So that man now has bought a property, of 50 million at 15 million, right? And then he puts the property out for rent, generating rental income for him as though it's a 50 million naira property. I don't know if you're getting my point. For less. Now, other people's emergency, other people's problem becomes your own opportunity when you have such. So it's an important habit. Any forward-looking person and organization should really pay attention to, right? Because life is in cycles, right? There's what we call wealth cycles. There's always the seasons of famine, and there's always going to be a season of abundance. My mentor would say, if you prepare for bad times, you will always have good times. When money is flowing, that's the time to be doing cash reserve. And then when the seasons of famine comes, you are the ones who will be able to take advantage of the opportunities in those seasons when you have the cash reserves. I was in a meeting, a conference recently, this last weekend, and an Indian facilitator was facilitating. It was actually the Conclave Summit in Houston, Texas. And this gentleman made a very profound statement. He said he traveled down from India to United States for as a student, as a foreign student, to study chemical engineering, and he went on to secure his master's in chemical engineering. Later on, he went for his MBA, his master's in business administration. And one of the things that has transpired within that period and that season was the fact that he eventually got married, and then himself and his wife agreed that they were going to live off one person's income. Both of them were working in Total, and then both of them were going to live off their own income, personal income. One person's income, and then they will save the other person's income. What a strategy. And the plan and strategy was that, or the favor that came to them eventually was that during the global economic recession in 2007, 08, 09, and 2010, they were able to snatch a lot of opportunities. While people were, where properties were being foreclosed, they were able to buy a lot of cheap properties with their reserve. And then, while he still maintained his job, his wife was able to resign from full-time employment to go and be doing the same real estate business. They have grown so big now that he too had to resign to go and join the wife and continue to do the business. There are a lot of opportunities that people will not be able to access or harness if they don't save, right? You are not safe except you save. It's important, extremely important. I can't. What is enough of the wise, and we cannot overemphasize this.
Wow. I mean, I like that analogy. It's something that I'm going to copy. So you see, if you are listening, I'm sure that you have gotten value already. You've seen a strategy that you can adopt as a family that can help you. And indirectly, as you were giving that example, you already went into the next practical strategy that I would like you to speak about, which showed that the Indian family, started with saving or savings, but they did not stop there. They did not
Mhm.
end there. They went further to invest. One of the things that we've
Absolutely.
seen in this part of the world, and I think in every other part of the world, because I think financial principles are not just relevant in one region of the world and then irrelevant. I think it's something that is
Mhm.
agnostic. Everybody can practice it any way that you have found yourself. You just need to adapt it and maybe tweak it a bit to suit the policies in your area, wherever it is that you have found yourself. And that's why you need
Mhm.
to have a financial coach and a financial advisor when your wealth gets to a certain level. It's because the wealth is not big. That's why it looks like you're managing it
Mhm.
and you're doing well. It gets to a certain level where your mind cannot carry it. You need people, you need technocrats to help you manage your money. So now we're going to be speaking.
Mhm.
I would like you
Mhm.
mostly to speak to investing. And I don't know if you're aware what's currently happened in Nigeria with the CDEX platform, a platform that promised people 100% in 30 days. And the platform collapsed on Monday. 1.3 trillion disappear. Already people crying. I've seen very interesting stories, even somebody selling a property and putting all of the money inside a platform that is faceless, that has no product. So I would like you to speak to um, investing. What investment really is. What should be the guiding principles or the pointers to investing? What are the things that people should look out for? Are there rules and regulation, do's and don'ts, the holy grail of investing? I think I'd like to speak to that. And when we finish with that, we now come to sort of addressing Ponzi schemes and, why people fall for it. So I think we start with investing. So over to you, sir.
Um, there's no way I will not even address all the issue of the Ponzi scheme to in what I'm about to say right now. So let's go back a bit to the savings. So savings is not an investment strategy, and it's important that everybody notes that. So we don't save. So you don't save as an investment. You save for investment. So you don't save as an investment. You save for investment. So whenever you save, you are preparing the resources for investing. The only way we multiply money is through investing. Okay? So it's important we establish that from the get go. Now, how so what are the components of wise investing? So I listed about 7 or 8 of them in my book. Um, but let me just touch on a few. The number one components for determining what to invest, when to invest, how to invest, and all of that is your objective. Your objective. Your why is critical whenever you, I mean, that's pretty much what I do whenever I'm interacting with investors. Sometimes when there is a mismatch between objective and the instrument, there's always a crisis. All right. If your objective is to pay rent that is within a year, or you is to take delivery of your pregnant wife within a 9-month period, it already defines the type of instrument to deploy that funds into, right? And that's why objective is so critical. Number two is your risk profile. Your risk profile or appetite. How much risk can you tolerate? Okay, this is extremely important. A lot of times when people hear returns, and again, of course, the return is also important. It's also one of the key components. So how much return can you derive from this? But you have to match it with your risk appetite or risk profile. Your risk profile will tell you this is beyond my what I can accommodate or what I can tolerate. Okay, so your risk tolerance, how much risk can you tolerate? This is so important. And then there are all sorts of assessments available, online that you can also take to assess your risk tolerance, to assess your risk profile. Do you get? So you may want to take that so that every time opportunities are presented to you, investment opportunities are presented to you, you want to look at it with the X-ray of your own risk profile, not on the basis of, because sometimes I'm a very aggressive risk taker, very aggressive. I would never use my risk profile to judge what somebody else should do. If I don't understand your risk tolerance or risk profile, and I can't give you recommendations. So I need to know your objective. I need to know your risk profile. Once I know those two things, I can give recommendations. The next one that looks like a risk profile is risk attendant risk associated with that choice of investments. Because let me tell you this, there's no such thing as risk-free investment or business anywhere. Anything that has potential for gain also has a potential for loss. On this planet, that is the way it is. Anything that has the potential to give birth also has the potential to die. So a lot of times we only focus on the upsides and then don't look at the downsides and ask critical questions. And that's why a lot of people get their fingers burnt. And then even when people know this truth, they still go ahead and say, oh, I know the person that is involved. The person that is involved is even not a guarantee. He can die tomorrow. She can die tomorrow. So what happens now when you have a good understanding of the attendant risk associated with an investment or a platform or an instrument or an asset class, then you now put in structures that will mitigate against such potential risk. The risk of loss, the risk of failure, all right? And which is one of the key reasons why I decided to sit with real estate. Because even if we have not gotten our money back, we have our property. And the thing continues to upgrade. There's nothing like, we have money has evaporated in the thing there. There's nothing like that. So that's one of the things that gives me peace of mind, confidence. So when anybody's talking, I want to invest, I'm looking for where I can get money, I can be getting 30% every month. You are a thief. It's a truth. Let's not sugarcoat it. You are a thief, period. And anyone that fell for it, you should be asking yourself, now, I'm sorry if I sounded, because you see, oh my goodness, I really don't know how else I can describe this. And I'm sorry if I come across as very insulting, all right, in that regard. Because please, let us even cut it out. Please, cut out the deep part, please. Because honestly, I really don't know how to say this. Any return that looks too good to be true is very likely not to be true. Any return that looks too good to be true is very likely not to be true. I hope you know that if I tell you I can make 100%, it's not really 100% because I have overhead. I have all other costs that I need to incur in delivering that service. So that even though I make 100% return on that investment, I still have obligation that will reduce my profits. Do you understand what I'm talking about? So, and how many businesses in Nigeria can really, anywhere in the world, will not have all these costs? By the time you pay taxes, so there's profit before tax, profit after tax. There are regulatory fees that you pay. There are overhead. There are cost of goods. There's cost of sales. There are indirect costs. By the time you remove all those things, what you have left is no longer 100%. So sometimes the it's like, I know we just bought this thing for this, we sold it at this, and so this is how we make our money. Uncle, I fear for you, because these are the things. And part of the things I've also seen, and I need to mention this issue of risk. We need to thoroughly be educated about risks, because some people um, avoid risk, right? Some other people um, go blindly on, just like the Holy Book says, uh, um, the prudent foresees danger and take precaution. He said, but the fool goes blindly on and suffers the consequences. So as I'm speaking right now, opportunities will come to you from time to time. And just in case you have also lost money in such schemes, one of the fundamentals you should be asking yourself is it repeatable? What is the history, track record of both the people and the asset class that the funds, except the funds was mismanaged, except the money was misappropriated. But if it went into certain asset class, like real estate, where are they? That's why I sit down there. I know they look for anything where anybody. If you say this is the reigning thing, no problem. Sit down, go do it. And if you are going to even take some measure of risk that's quite aggressive with massive return, why should you shut down everything that is working in your life to go and put it there? You should take your step. You should take small steps or take baby steps, right? You should take baby steps, and then that's pretty much the way I see it. So you want to look at the objective before you make any investment. You want to evaluate your own risk profile, your risk tolerance, how much risk can you tolerate, and then you also want to look at the assets, the attendant risk associated with that class of uh, investment instrument, right? So there are some investment instruments that the risks are quite um, almost negligible, right? Because of the sovereign backing those part of kind of instrument also enjoys. So all the treasury bills, money markets in general, enjoy some degree of stability and guarantees. But that does not also satisfy all objectives, right? So if you want to build long-term wealth, money market may not be the ideal, right? You also want to evaluate currency risks. There's environmental risk, all sorts of risks, depending on the class of the asset class that you are embracing. The other thing you want to also look at, for the level of return that you are looking at, how much, sorry, for the level of risk you are willing to take, how much return is ideal for you. Okay? So if I'm going to go all in with you, right, into this project, right, I'm going to be throwing in, putting my reputation on the line, I'm going to put my money on the line and everything. How much return do I want in exchange for that level of risk? Right? It's also very important to also evaluate that. But also know in general that if you are operating or if you are growing organically, right? If you are growing organically, right, you have a far more conservative projections. You will be more stable in the long term, right? So don't be looking for all these. Don't join all these bandwagon effects. In fact, I'm even surprised how come I did not know about it. I saw the news. I actually saw the news. I don't want to mention the name of the firm. I saw the news on X.com, right? Just this morning, and they've started investigation and all of everybody's running up and down, and all of those things. But the point is, the people that went in there, this is not the first type of scheme. We've had all similar schemes in time past. So you look at the track record. What exactly? So the difference between Ponzi scheme and pyramid scheme, they're quite similar. The difference between the two is that one has a product, the other one has no product. All right. So, and whether we like it or not, the world itself is a pyramid scheme. That's why the rich rule over the poor. That's why there are fewer people at the top and then so many people in the bottom of the pyramid. So it's a pyramid system. The world, the life that we live, the political system of every government, every nation you go to is a pyramid. Is a pyramid. The difference between a pyramid, however, when it comes to investment and a Ponzi scheme is that one has a product, the other one does not have a product. And a Ponzi scheme essentially is robbing Peter to pay Paul. There's nothing they're selling. It's just they're leveraging and riding on the greed of human beings. The get rich quick scheme. I want to hammer now. So, so it's a very dangerous game you want to play. Sometimes, let me say this. Sometimes, and I say it to my team all the time, you are most likely going to be right when you find out where the majority of people are doing. And just do the opposite. You are most likely going to be right. So when it's everybody's talking about it, be careful. Be careful. You want to slow down a bit. All right. You want to be more discerning. All right. You want to be discern, a discerning investor, right, and not an emotional investor. Okay.
Thank you very much for
I'll
addressing
leave it
that.
there.
But one thing that you mentioned briefly that I'd like you to touch on a bit is the part of greed. Now we can sort of maybe forgive people that are not that financial illiterate, but I mean you still bear the consequence either way. But greed. How, why are people greedy? And how can they how do you know if you are greedy? And how can you curb greed? Because some people still have experienced previous cycles of Ponzi scheme, but they still went into this. So it means that they did not learn their lesson.
Mm,
So is there a lasting solution that once they hear this, they
okay.
will get it?
Well, it's still there's a lasting solution, and it starts from personal transformation. You see, whatever money you cannot walk away from, you have not yet conquered. Okay, and it's important to break it down a little further. Any money you are not likely going to be able to produce yourself. Eh? Don't negotiate for that kind of deal. All right. Any income, any return you are not likely to be able to produce yourself. Don't sign up for it elsewhere. That's number one. Number two is any money you have not been able to give away. Don't invest it. You see, some people will develop stroke because they lost money, and some people will receive wisdom, right, to produce more. Why? Because of their mental, intellectual, and spiritual posture. And I say that carefully and intentionally. Money is a result, it's a reward of solving problems. It's a reward for, it's a means of exchange. It's a reward we get for solving problems. So when you know that the real money is not the money that was lost, you can always reproduce it, you can replicate it, then you have cracked the code. I don't know if I get my point. So how do you conquer greed? Be a giver. If you are self-centered, it's all about me, myself, and I. Then number two, I would recommend, right? Have a body of people who are your who is advising you. My mentor was sharing recently how that he was at an event, or rather, he was somewhere, and the guy was talking crypto, blah blah, and was just announcing crypto and everything. And then he was asking the guy, said, "Okay, sorry, I'm glad that you have made a lot of money. Do you have your own personal house?" And the guy said, "No, you don't have your house. I have all this money. Why don't you just sell a portion and use it to buy property?" The guy said, "No, you don't understand crypto. If you understand the way this thing works." Cut the long story short, excuse me. Cut the long story short, just less than a week after that, there was a massive crash. Guess what? The same guy that was educating my mentor on crypto called him to say, but you are a prophet now. You should have told me that the thing was going to crash. I should have moved. Say, but I told you. How are you going to hold me responsible for the crash? He said, it's like you saw it. You knew it was going to happen. And you did not tell me. You didn't force me. You didn't force me to follow what you are saying. I just laughed. Truth is this: any risk that is way beyond your risk profile, tread carefully. If you are going to take it at all, let it just be a significant an amount of money you are prepared to lose, right? If it is something you have never tested before, it must be something that you are ready also to lose, because whatever has the potential for loss or for gain also has the potential for loss, and whatever has the potential for loss
I like
also has
that.
the
And I
potential
hope that
for gain.
everybody
I rest my case there.
listening, you sort of can record this part and share it to your friends and family that you know that feel a victim of this unfortunate situation. Please, a word is enough for the wise. Do not be greedy. Do not be greedy. Whatever you cannot walk away from, then you're not ready. Don't start what you cannot finish. Something that you mentioned as a strategy for curing greed is generosity. And I'd like you to speak more to generosity, because some people have this mindset where they
Absolutely.
just always want to collect, collect, collect. They just want to receive. They just want to hoard. They don't know that giving is also one of the very important practical strategies on the way to financial freedom. So I like to do that.
I can speak for the next 30 hours on giving. You know, um, the truth of the matter is, once once you become generous, once you become the type of a person who is who gives. I mean, the saying that givers never lack is very true. It's not just a slogan. It's very, very true, right? Of course, there are also other strategies around giving too. You have to have a structure around your giving. Otherwise, you will enable irresponsible people around you, right? Who don't understand the process of the way the money is made, right? But giving is a powerful principle. Giving is living, right? The principle of generosity is riding on the principle of life itself. The oxygen that we inhale, right, comes from plants, comes from trees, right? The carbon dioxide we exhale, all right, is what the plants also require for their own sustenance and existence, right? So it's a give and take system. That is how life is structured, all right? So you must give to receive. If you hold on to yours, you will suffocate and die. If they hold on to theirs, they will suffocate and die. So it's a giving and receiving. So it's the same principle that govern commerce, that govern business, trade all over the world. It's the same principle, right? So if you are not if you are not getting enough, it is you want to look at what you are contributing also. So if you are not securing enough, then you want to also look critically into what you are giving as well. So it's a very powerful principle. So a portion of what you earn is not just yours to keep; it's also yours to give. It's a spiritual principle, very powerful principle that provides protection beyond insurance, beyond military apparatus, military intelligence, right? No matter how powerful a man or woman is, no matter how highly placed a man or woman is, you only know when you get to your bed. You don't know exactly when you fall asleep. And if you ever thought that there's no power that is beyond you, right? And you thought it was your alarm that woke you up, go and put the same alarm in a cemetery or in a mortuary. And then you realize that there's a power that puts you to bed, that puts you to sleep, and that wakes you up every single day. Consider your generosity as a rent you paid for that power that puts you to bed and wakes you up, regardless of your religion or what you believe in. It's a very powerful principle. And it's going to be your greatest source of fulfillment. Your greatest source of fulfillment is not going to be from your accumulation, it's going to be from your contribution. So, a part of what you earn is yours to give. The next part of what you earn is yours to keep, right? For investment, savings, and all of that. And a part of what you earn is for yours to spend so that you can live the life while you are waiting for that new future life. Otherwise, you may not
Yes,
appear
yes,
in a
yes.
future that
This
you are not preparing for.
particular segment has been
Right.
great. I like how we
I
started
think
with
I've made my
the
point.
being part, with the personal transformation, everything we've mentioned about the mindset, the habits, the things that we need to become, the things that we need to do, our environment, the information, the investment in ourselves. And then we now moved on to the doing part, where we're now talking about practical strategies, budgeting, saving, investing, managing people's greed, generosity, and we can go on and on. But that's why in the box you can see the link to get the book. Ensure that you get the book. And for practicality, make sure that you join the challenge. So I don't want us to, dwell too much, because like Osi said, he can spend 30 hours, speaking about just one strategy. And I'm sure that a word is enough. We don't need to say everything. We'll begin to unveil it gradually. But this one that I'm giving you, this one that you have been served, eat it well and let absorb the nutrients. And don't just absorb it, let it show. Let it show in your decisions, in your actions, and the steps that you will take going forward. So I'd like us to move to the third segment, which has to do with achieving, which has to do with becoming a money magnet, which has to do with multiplying your money, has to do with also, attracting opportunities, right? Creating wealth. And I'm sure that everybody has been waiting for this part, waiting for this part. But like you've
Creating
seen the
wealth.
sequence. So don't just jump into this part, because if you jump, you will still go back. So now that you have developed solid roots, now your stem is getting a bit steady. You now start saying, "Oh, can I branch out? Can I do this? You're now becoming, adventurous now in your wealth creation. There are things that you need to do. Um, Before we go into things that we need to do, I think something that is also very important that we ask is, I just want you to share one very important vital skill that everybody in the world should develop. An important skill, an important skill that everybody in the world must have. Because some people run away from it. Say, "Ah, it's
I
not
didn't
my
get that.
calling. I'm not there." But they don't even know that they do it consciously or
Okay.
subconsciously. So before we go into that part, let's talk about that skill.
It, I get that skill will keep you relevant regardless of where you are, whether you have money now or never. You've never had money before, you've never seen money before. This skill will bring you a lot of money and will elevate your confidence anytime, any day. It's your marketing and selling skills. Your ability to market and sell is an important skill that you must develop. That skill, we will elaborate on that during the income generation day during the financial freedom challenge, and I'll tell you a little story here. I had my background in investment banking, and um, because we operated in a regulated space. The regulation forbids us from doing marketing, so we were very, very low when it comes to marketing, advert placements, and stuff like that. So it was forbidden in the space by regulation. But we're very big on selling. So there's no way I will take you through the process and then you will not do business with me. So it's not possible. So I became really skillful in selling. And what I came to realize, even when I transited and pivoted into real estate business, right, and real estate investments, is that marketing skill that was absent created a massive gap. So people who had marketing skill and combined it with the ability to sell, right, were able to convert, do a lot more in terms of transactions, and were able to pull a lot more resources. So I see you have to combine these two skills. It's an important skill that I now teach. I don't teach selling in isolation of marketing, neither do I teach marketing in isolation of selling. You need both. Your marketing system is a feeder system for your sales system, right? So marketing is what creates a desire in people. You are manufacturing demand when you are leveraging when you are developing your marketing skill. You are manufacturing demand. You are creating in people, all right, your potential market, your potential customers, a desire to want what you are selling. When you are an effective marketer, you are doing two things. You are disqualifying people and you are pre-qualifying people. So an effective marketing is going to disqualify certain people and going to qualify certain people. Again, your marketing, you are engaging the pull strategy. You are buying attention, which is the main currency now, especially in this digital age. You are gaining attention. So marketing is very, very huge. If you don't want to come across as salesy, you want to make sure that you are doling out a lot of value out there. So content creation right now is part of marketing. Is part of marketing. Let me tell you this. For those of us who are entrepreneurs and listening to me right now, and those of us who are sales professionals, pay attention to this. You will soon run out of all the people you know that you can sell to. Marketing is what will create a pipeline of consistent leads of people that you don't know but who would end up buying from you. So if you have a lot of content out there that's educating people, enlightening people, entertaining people, right? And it speaks to their pain, speaks to their frustrations, address their concerns, their fears, right? If you have a lot of content that speaks in those, and then in your niche, in your sector, in your industry, one thing you would have successfully done is that you would have warmed up, your audience and prepared them create in them a desire for whatever it is you may be selling. This is extremely important. It was one skill I shied away from. It was one skill I did not invest my attention on. Over the last 2.5 years, almost 3 years, I've given significant investment, given significant attention to, and I have deployed and I've seen massive results. And I keep wondering, how come I'm just implementing? How come the result is mind blowing. And we keep evolving, we keep evolving, and keep evolving again and again. So when you are doing an effective marketing, what you are essentially doing is you are positioning yourself as an authority. Okay? So much of the things you are pushing out there, if you have 10 content you push out there, 8 of them should be to add value, is gifts, is to secure attention. 2 of them is call to action, CTA. So that people will buy something. So after all this give that you have been doing, you have something that is also bringing in. At the Financial Freedom Challenge, I'm going to show you exact framework that we are using. It's not story, it's not grammar, it's not theory. It's something that I do, something that I've implemented, it's something that others are doing as well. And it's producing tremendous results. So I don't want to go too much into the details because part of the things I've learned from my mentors is that you teach everybody why, you teach them, you tell them what, you tell them when, where, but the how, you pay for it. So link is available in the description. I believe you've also gotten something from that. Let me say one more thing. Let me just say a few more things. Every business, for those of you who are business owners, the reason you started your business in the first instance was because you wanted to control your time. You wanted to determine your schedule. You don't want somebody to be in charge of your schedule. So you attended that seminar, that's Be Your Own Boss seminar, right? Fire Your Boss seminar. That's, begin your own business, hire yourself seminar, whatever seminar you attended that propelled you into starting your own business. Whatever that is, you need now to build a system around yourself to ensure that time, so that you don't end up, as an employee in your own business again. So you need to build a system around that business that ensures that things are running effectively. All those things is what I'm going to be sharing during the Financial Freedom. There are 4 types of products you must have. I can go on and on and on and on and on, but time won't permit me to go in there. There are 4 types of products. I'll just give you 2 that will aid your marketing and elevate your sales. Number 1 is gifts. We call it freemium. Freemium. Every business must have freemium. And by the way, in case you don't know, if you are just knowing that now, every business, no matter the industry in which you are, must be both a media and a tech company operating in that sector. Every business that must thrive in these seasons must become a media and a tech company. I'll be sharing more details with you in the Financial Freedom Challenge. You really don't want to miss it. I'll be showing you exact frameworks, not theory, and then I'll give you tasks. That's why it's a challenge. You go do it, and then you come back with results. That's it. So you do it, you get results. So that's the way it works. So you need freemium. Number 2 is freemium. So with your freemium, which is the gift, you secure attention, you get attention. But again, you are giving things out with no strings attached. Okay, no strings attached. Nobody is paying you for anything, but you are using that to secure attention because attention is currency. The second product you must have is freemium. Freemium. This is what we call product for prospects. This is the one you are giving in exchange for trust. You are using to build trust. The first one is to gain attention. This one is for trust, to build trust and credibility, to build credibility and authority. You are listening to me right now on this platform for free, for God's sake. It has established my credibility. It has also established my authority. This guy knows what he's talking about, right? Your business needs the same. So stop looking at what other people are doing and say, what's all this one that people are doing? You don't understand the science. That there's a science around it. So when you see people produce certain levels of results, it's because there's a science around it. Okay? And then there are other 2 levels of product that you must have in your business to consistently grow your business. So if you do the first 2, you will do effective marketing. How do you do effective sales? I'll tell you the others when you join the Financial Freedom Challenge. I don't mean to be, upward, and I need to be honest with you. I'm not just going to come here and tell you lies or whatever, but I will give it to you when you come. You won't even find it in this book. So, so you attend the Financial Freedom Challenge in your best interest. Thank you.